Alright, 178, 345 general design construction one's Apple the specification 406 and 412 the car tank motor vehicles, 178, 345, 1 general one specification 406, 407, the 412 the car tank motor vehicle, the bonus component of the one section addition will apply to the Apple the specification contained 178, 346, 347, 348. Whole specification requirement of the definition 178, 328 for the definition for the criteria used in 178, 345, 346, 347, 348. In addition to the following definition, the 178, 345, 346, 347, 348. Alright, appurtenancy is made with the cover tank with an accessory attachment and the length returns the containment of the function of the provide the stone structural support of the cover tank baffle mean with non-liquid tight transfer partition device with the liquid check with the regulate the fluid over the motion of the tank of the bulkhead means lightweight light liquid tight with the transverse closure at the end between the cover tank charging line, me with the hose of the tube of the pipe with the summer device, you with the pressure tank with the main tube with the other than lane companion flame, me with one with the tube with the flame with the flange vane with the contains that separate only with the leak with the sealing gap with the seal here with the one with no more or one or another bolt clamp connecting with the structure, me with the structure with the joint with the crew car tank with the construction with the survive conforms with the ASME code means car tank with the construction with the same with the conforms with the ASME code inspect with the survive with the authorized inspector with the car and with the conforms with the ASME code me with the car tank with the construction conforms with the ASME code with the authorized machines and is inspected with the certified with the registered inspection external with the self-closing stop valve means the self-closing stop valve is designed with the self-store of the engineering source of located outside of the car tank of the well flange extreme dynamic loading means the maximum single action loading of the car toter tank motor vehicle the main extreme with the during the expected life excluding the accidental loading flange being the structural room with the, and for the guiding with the attachment of the pipe with the fitting with the another flame with the companion pipe fitting of the other attachment inspection pressure means with the pressure even to determine the leak of the tester tighten this car tank with the testing with the pneumatic pressure for the internal self-closing stop valve with the self-closing stop valve designed so that the self-stored energy source located inside of the car tank of the valve, the well flame of the valve seat located with the car tank within 1 inch of the external face of the well, the flame sump of the car tank landing with the main with the hazard material contained with the car tank loading and unloading condition me the fitting of the loading and unloading farthest from loading unloading outlet with loading and unloading hose and devices used as attached loading and unloading outlet means the car tank of the outlet used for the normal loading unloading operation loading and unloading stop valve means the stop valve farthest from the car loading tank unloading and unloading an outlet over the which the loading and unloading connections attached maximum level working pressure C178 320A multiple specification car tank motor vehicle the mean with the car tank motor vehicle equipped with two more car tank is fabricated to do more one car tank specification normal operating load mean with the loading of the car tank motor vehicle the main be expected the experience of the routine and operation nozzle means subassembly consisting of the pipe of the tubular section with that with the weld and forge flange with the one end outlet many of the means the aim of the opening with the show of the head of the car tank included the mean with this attaching closure expect the following no outlet of the thread opening securely closed during transportation with the thread within thread cap with the flange opening securely closed during transportation with the bolted weld blank with the band hold with the gauging device thermometer weld with the safety relief devices. All the stop valve mean the stop valve of the car tank unloading out of the pipe of the coupling mean with the thing with the internal width of the bolt rear bone with the mean with the structure with the design with the prevent the vehicle with the object with the unloading of the unriding with the rear with the motor with the 393 it's for the type rear end with the tank of the protection of the device the mean with the structural design with the protector with the car tank and any landing of the retention piping device with the cave of the rear and the closure and the sacral device shield with the element shear with the section design with the with the loading orders of the prevent the damage and landing of the retention of the device. The device must break over the under the trim not more than 70% of the trunk with the weakness pipe of the element between the car tank with the sacrificial device operation. The sacrificial device must leave with the remainder of the pipe attachment with the cargo tank intact with the capable of retaining loading. Self-closing stop valve means the stop valve held in the closed position means with the self-stored entry with which opens for the application and external force with which closed with external forces removed. Shear section means sacrificial device with the fabricated in such a manner with the abrupt the reduced of the weld taken with the adjacent piping with the valve with the release and 30% shell means the circumferential portion of the car tank defined with the basic design radius radial excluding closing heads. Stop valve means the valve at the top of the flowing landing sump means the proposed protrusion from the bottom of the car tank shell the design facility complete loading and unloading of the landing tank means containing consistently shell head of the forms of the pressure type vessel the having the opening of the design that accept the pressure testing fitting closure exclude but the appurtenancy of the reinforcement fitting closure test pressure means the pressure with the tank of the subject with the determined pressure integrity. Toughness of the material, the capability of the material to absorb the energy represented the air with the unrestrained traffic curve of the indicator the energy absorbed by the per unit volume up to the point of the rupture vacuum car tank mean with the car tank with the load with the reducing pressure for the car tank below with the atmospheric pressure variable specification car tank means car tank with the specification when the alter with one of the specification chain with the relief device closure landing the discharge of the device the other landing retention the device is void mean with the space between the tank of the bulkhead with the from the structure well, the flange means the flange attached to the tank of the well, the joint tank show the cylindrical outer surface of the flame of the fillet well, the joint tank show the shell of the flange shape of the favor the shell can contour the manufacturer of the car tank with it must be hold of the current of the ASME certificate authorized must be registered for the department in accordance with the Part 107 subpart F of the ship of the all construction must be certified authorized inspector by the registered inspection for the applicable the car tank. Each for the car tank must be designed strictly conform with the requirements applicable to the car tank specification. Even dot force for the car tank maximum allowable work pressure greater than 15 psi gauge dot 4067 407 the car tank with a maximum allowable working pressure greater than 35 psi gauge for the construction and certified conforms with the section A of the SME code, but as except with limited modification applicable to the car tank specification. Other cargo tank must be constructed in accordance with the section A SME code, except with the limited but modified by the applicable cargo tank specification requirement relating to the access to the motor vehicle contained 393 Motor Manual Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulation title incorporated with this section. And additional requirements of the prescribed in Part 173 subchapter pertains to transportation specific language incorporated into the specification. Cargo tank and motor vehicles composed of the multiple cargo tank with the cargo tank and motor vehicle components of more than one cargo tank may be constructed. The cargo tanks must be the same specification, a different specification. Each cargo tank must conform in all respect with the specification with the certified with the string with the connection the structural joint with the multi-cargo tank with the cargo tank and motor vehicle must be structured the design requirements. 178.3.453 within the connection the structural must be equipped with the drain location from the bottom of the center line with accessible to cap the open at all time for the carbon self-supporting cargo tank with the drain configuration may consist of the drain single drain with at least 1 inch of the diameter with 2 more drain with at least a half inch of the diameter and 6 inches of the part with the one which is located with the cliff at the bottom of the center line of practical the vapor trapped in the void within connected with the train structure must be allowed to escape the atmosphere either through the drain or separate vent. Variable specification cargo tank is physical alter with the conformity. Another cargo tank with specification must have the required physical alteration for one of the specifications and another clearly indicated with the variable specification plate. 178. 342, 345, 2. Material and material thickness. The element of the shell head with the bulk from the baffle must conform with the section 2 of the ASME code except for the following steel with the author of the cargo tank is constructed in accordance with the ASME code with section 8. 590, 569, 570, 572, 622, 656, 715, 8, 1008, and 1008 M, 1011 AM, M, and 1011 A aluminum alloy suitable for use in welding conforming with the 0H3 and 32 and 34 temperature of the following the ASME specification may be the cargo tank constructed in accordance with the ASME code B209, 550, 52, 50, 86, 51, 54, 52, 54, 54, 54, 56, 54. All bulkheads, baffles, with 0 temperature zone with the temper all shell and the 2 with the shell with the H32 with the H34 temperature except with the lower ultimate string with the temple. Maybe the minimum shell with the thickness of the tape with the inverse proportion unless all with the string with the minimum thickness of the minimum thickness shell with the head of the baffle, the bulkhead with the youth in the tank of the reinforcement and now left and determine the criteria of the minimum thickness specified 178 320A. Minimum thickness of the shell of the head with the back of the bulkhead, the U with the reinforcement not left and determined by the criteria of the minimum thickness specified in the 178 320A. The corrosion and duration of the control of the required in Title 49 Part 173 particular land cargo tank of the part of the therefore subject to think of the corrosion mechanical abrasion due to the land with the must be taken with the provided the tank of the part with the tank of the suitable and the thickness of the material landing with the sum of the other suitable method of the protection corrosion along with the material of the corrosion allowance neither the uniform thickness is different but the attack with the reasonable with the expect with the various areas of the cargo tank lining material must be designed with the non-porous homage with the material with the non-elastic with the parent material with the substantial immediately attack with the landing and landing material must be bonded with attachment or other appropriate mean with the cargo tank of the well with the periphery able to apply with the joint seam with the lining must be made with the fusing materials together by the other through the fast means. Alright, 178 345 3 structural integrity. General requirements acceptance of the criteria minimum calculated design structure of any particular component of the cargo tank of the element exceed with the maximum level of stress value with the prescribed in section 8 of the ASME code of the 25% of the tensile strength of the material used the design condition relevant physical property the material used in the cargo tank may be established by certified test report with the material manufacturer testing conformed with the recognized tensile strength in either case of the ultimate tensile strength of the material used at the time with not exceed 120% of the minimal ultimate tensile strength with either with the ASME code of the ASTM standard of the material manufacturer the maximum design strength at any point of the cargo tank must be calculated separately loading conditions described in paragraph D of this section. Alternate testing with the analytic method the combination thereof the maybe even play with the procedure prescribed in BC with the section method the accurate variable the TTM RP 9601 structural integrity of the DAP 464 7412 cylindrical cargo tanks may be the guy with the pressure of the performing calculation corrosion along with the material that may include the FI with the design calculation requirements of the section. ASME code design construction and static design construction E for the cargo tank must be incorporated with section 9 of the section A of the ASME code of the cargo tank design must include the calculation structure of the generator with the maximum level of weight pressure of the weight with the loading of the weight with the structures, support of the car tank wall, the effect of the temperature of the gradient, is resulting in landing at aim, determine the extreme of the sum of the material with the thermal coefficients, these must be the calculation of the thermal stress of the stress going train, and the stress tension of the torsion from the course or curve on the paddle of the cradle of the other support with the consider the corners for the appendix G of the section A of the ASME code. Longitudinal compressive buckling stress of the ASME certified vessels must be calculated under the paragraph G23 with the section A of the ASME cargo. Take the example required with the certified in accordance with the ASME code. Compressive bulking stress of the calculated U of the alternative analysis method of the accurate verifiable alternative method of the calculation included both the attack load and describe the paragraph of the dynamic load described in paragraph C with the second car tank of the design of the manufacturer must consider all of the condition with the paragraph 173.33 C with the subchapter of the matching car tank of the form of the character each lane transported shell design shell stress over the dynamic loads combination they are not uniform with the car tank motor vehicle vertical longitudinal lateral normal operation load with the simultaneously must be combined with the vertical longitudinal lateral or extreme dynamic loading occur separately and not combined normal operating load with the following perceive the edge of the stress of the cargo take the result of the normal operating landing with the effect with the stress of the minimum maximizable stress at any point must be determined by the following formula, where S is effective with the given and stress of the combination of the static normal operating load that occur at the same time in the PSI S is Y with the circumferential stress of the generated with the maximum level of working pressure, external pressure with the app with plus static head of the PSI with the SX with the following net longitudinal stress generated with the following static normal operation landing condition PSI. Longitudinal stress resolved with the maximum level of pressure with the external pressure with the applicable plus the attack, have the combination bending with the traffic generated with the attack wave of the fully the cargo, take out the motor vehicle, all structural and equipment elements with the equipment frequency support with the car, tank wall, technical breath and strength with the result with the normal operating longitudinal acceleration, deceleration, each with the force of the applied with the 0.35 time with the vertical with the reaction of the suspension assembly applied with the road surface transmit with the car, tank with the well through the suspension assembly during the deceleration horizontal applied with the structure converter dolly, fifth wheel drawbar, hands down on the fixed dolly during the acceleration anchor with the support member, the other track during the acceleration deceleration act with the vertical reaction from the west calculated based on the static weight with the fully loaded cargo tank motor vehicle, the all structural elements, the equipment and printed the support for the cargo tank wall with the following loads must be included with the axle loading the generated with the decelerated force bending moment with the generated decelerated force, axle load generated with the accelerated force bending moment, the generated accelerated force, the tension with the crest with the strength with the generated movement that resolved with the normal operating vertical acceleration equal to the 35 times 0.35 time with the vertical reaction of the suspension from the sum of the trail with the horizontal pivot with the upper coupler 15 fifth wheel turntable ankle over the member of the torque is applicable. The vertical reaction must be calculated based on the static weight with the fully loaded with the cargo tank motor vehicle structural elements equipment with the frequency support with the cargo tank of the wall, the SF, the following shear strength, the generator with the following step with the normal operating loading condition, static shear with the result of the vertical reaction with the suspension with the assembly with the trail with the horizontal pivot, the upper coupler with the field turntable, the anchoring support member, the truck with the capital with the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the static weight of the fully loaded cargo tank motor vehicle with its all structural element, equipment, the frequency support with the cargo tank of the wall, the vehicle, vertical shear strength with the normal operating acceleration equal to the 0.35 time of the vertical reaction suspension from the trail with the horizontal with the upper coupler fifth wheel with the turntable anchor with the support with the member of the truck's applicable with the vertical reaction must be calculated with the based on the static weight with the fully loaded with the car tank motor vehicle, the all structural element of the equipment, and the frequency support with the car tank of the wall, the lateral shield strength with the normal operating lateral accelerator force equal to 2/10 of the time vertical reaction each suspension from the assembly with the trail they apply with the road and surface the transform within the car tank of the wall with the suspension assembly with the trail the horizontal and pivot with the upper coupler half of the wheel with the turntable the anchor with the support member of the truck with the ass apple the vertical reaction when they calculated based on the static weight with the fully loaded with the car tank motor vehicle, the all structural element, the equipment, the improvements to support with the car tank wall. The original shield strength is generated the same lateral force as described in C1-4C of this section. Extreme dynamic pressure loading the final point pursuit to adjust the stress of the car tank shell resulting from extreme dynamic loads. If they affect with the strength of the maximum principal strength of the aim with the point must be determined in the following formula, where S is effective with the strength of the given the combination static and dynamic extreme dynamic load that can be occurred at the same time in the PSI. S5 circumferential stress of the generated maximum level of pressure, external pressure with applicable with the plus the static head in PSI. SX is the following next longitudinal stress of the with the following statically extreme dynamic loading conditions PSI. Longitudinal stress from the maximum allowable working pressure, external pressure with the applicable left of the static head with the combination bending stress of the generated with the static wave of the fully loaded cargo tank motor vehicle with all structural equipment frequency supported with of the valve with the tensile compressive strength, result of the extreme longitudinal acceleration, deceleration, each of the case force applied with the 7/10 at the time of the vertical reaction, the suspension applied with the road, interpret the arrangement with the cargo tank of the rear valve, suspension with the assembly with the trailer during deceleration of the horizontal pivot, the tractor of the grading dolly, fifth wheel with the all hinge with a fixed dolly during acceleration, anchor with the support member of the truck during acceleration, deceleration, applicable to the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the stack with a fully loaded cargo motor vehicle with all structural elements, equipment, the prudence support with a car, tank of the wall, following loadings must include the axle load generated decelerated force, bending movement, generated decelerated force, axle load generated accelerated force, bending movement, generated accelerated force, and tensile compressive strain with the bending movement of the result of the extreme vertical acceleration force equal to the 7/10 of the vertical reaction suspension over the assembly with the trail, the horizontal pivot of the upper cover, fifth wheel of the turntable anchor with the support member of the truck assembly with the vertical reaction must be calculated based on stack with the fully loaded structural element, the equipment, the frequency support with the car tank wall, as if the following shear strip of the jam with the stack extension of the dynamic loading conditions, PSI structural shear with the result of the vertical reaction of the suspension assembly with the trail with the horizontal pivot of the upper coupler of the fifth wheel of the turntable anchor with support with the truck with the apparent apple the vertical reaction between the calculated base some of the stack wake of the fully loaded car tank motor vehicle, all structural elements with the frequency support with the car tank wall. Vertical shear strip of the joint with extreme vertical force of the equal to 7/10 at the time of the vertical reaction. Sometimes the assembly with the trailer and the horizontal of the upper coupler fifth wheel of the turntable of the truck. The assembly with the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the stack weight of the fully loaded car tank of the motor vehicle with the all structural elements equipment. The frequency support with the car tank of the wall. The all stress with the extreme lateral sort of accelerated force equal to the 4/10 of the vertical reaction with the suspension and assembly with the trailer with the applied with the road strip with the transmit with the car taking the wall with the suspension assembly with the trailer horizontal pivot the upper coupler with the fifth wheel with the turntable the anchoring the supporting member of the truck with this applicable the vertical reaction must be calculated with the base of the attack weight with the fully loaded car tank motor vehicle all structural elements equipment and the prudence supported by the cargo taking the wall the torsion shear strength with the generator with the same lateral force as in paragraph C2-4C of the section in no case of the minimum second of the car tank show the heads less than this prescribed in 178, 3462, 3472, 3482 is applicable with the car tank mount with the frame built with the integral stroke for the calculation of the effect of the drive. Long condition paragraph C with the section include the structural contribution of the frame integral structures and support the design, construction, installation, attachments, or prudency of the car tank structural support member that between the cargo tank of the vehicle or suspension components must conform with the following report. Structural member of the suspension subframe of the axle projection of the structure external circumferential reinforcement device must be used inside with the attachment frequency of the accessible accessory for the car tank where attachable where practical. Lightweight attachment to the car tank which show the continuity clip with brake line clip of the skirting construction lamp mounting bracket of the plaque car holding must be constructed having a lesser than strength than car tank material that may be not more than 72 times the percent of the thickness of the material to which is attached lightweight attachment with the solid securely directly with the car tank while the device is designed installed in the manner if damaged it will not affect the landing retention integrity of the tank lightweight attachment must be secured with the car with a shell with the help of continuous weld in such a manner to preclude for more formation of pockets which may become in the size of the corrosion. Symptoms prescribed in paragraph F1 and F2 of the section of the welding and prudence of the car tank must be made with an attachment of the mounting pad so that there was no adverse effect upon the landing retention with the integrity of the cargo and any force left in the prescribed paragraph of B1 of the section applied with any of the direction of the mounting pad may not be left within the shell of the head with the attachment no more than 1/2 time of the shell of the head thickness over the pad of the minimum thickness of the 1/87,000th of an inch the shell of the head thickness of the 1/87,000th of an inch sweep hole that telltale the U of the pad must be drill punch at the lowest point with the before as well as the tank each of the head must be fabricated with the material determined the suitable of the welding car the tank material with the material with the primitive structure with the support remember the design certificate must be determined the chemical the physical properties material that must specify the filler material that conform with the ones with ASME code incorporate the reference 171 subchapter to be performed in near inside raised no greater than the outside raise with the car tank of attachment located in the extent of the 2 inches each of the direction of the point of the attachment primitive structural support member the dimension must be measured with the center of the structural member to have the head with the round corner over the other square wood chair the man with the minimum stress concentration of the head may attach the continuous fill with the fillet well to discontinue be other the preventing intersection between the fillet well the tank of the jacket seem welded 178 345 4 joints all joints by the coating head with the apple attaching the ring with the bulkhead must be welded in corners with section A of the ASME code with all practical welds must be easily acceptable in inspection 178 345 5. The manhole assemblies. Each car tank with a capacity of greater than 400 gallons must be acceptable through the manhole at least 15 inches of diameter. Manhole filling opening with the assembly must be structurally incapable of sharing without leak with the permanent deformation that would affect the structural integrity, structural intent, internal fluid pressure to leave the 36 psi gauge car tank pressure, which is greater than the manhole assembly of the manufacturer, but they shall verify with the compliance with the requirements of the hydrostatic testing at least one of the per cent of the one manhole closure with a greater all manhole closure each type of the produce each 3 months. the valve of the manhole filling opening without the assembly must be tested with preventing the device blocked with any leakage of the deformation well with the effect of the product retention the capability assembly should account for the failure. Manhole filling open the well assembly the test failed with the fill more with the cover the same level that must be tested in one with the 5 cover failed with all the covers located with the test cover and selected for the 100% of the tested and rejected surface at each manhole filler and washout must be fitted with the safety device to prevent the cover of the opening from the internal pressure present. Each manhole fill cover must be secured and fastening that will prevent overcover the curve of the vibration arm with the normal transportation condition and shock impact. Due to roll over the accident road way shoulder was fill cover the no-stroke the substantial object. On cover the tank of the motor vehicle the manufacturer October 2004. Each manhole assembly must be permanently marked on the outside of the same underneath the location within the opening manhole. The assembly filling over the manufacturer's name says pressure PSI gauge statement certification manhole cover the meeting the requirements of 178.345.5. All components mounted on the manhole cover the power with the loading of the retention of the strength of the structure of the cargo of the tank of the must withstand the same internal fluid pressure with the required manhole cover the component the manufacturer shall verify comply with the same testing procedure frequency with the test specified 178.345.5b 178.334 345.6 supporting an anchor car taking the frame not internal with the car taking may have the taking secured with the restraint device and eliminate any of the motion tank of the frame may be brave with the shell to do the stopping of the turn of the car taking them over the design calculation the super elements must include the stress indicated 178.345.3b generally loading prescribed 177.345.3c with the restraining device must be readily acceptable inspection and maintenance acceptable the installation jacketing are permitted covering restraining devices cargo design they have the construction counts with the whole part of the structural member to do with the frame that must be suspected such a name with the reach resulting stress level of the car taking 90 with the specified 178.345.3a with the design calculation super elements included the stress indicated 178.345.3b and generated loads described in 178.345c. Or 178.345.7 circumferential reinforcement car taking with the shoe of the shell with the left and 3/8 in the middle of the circumferential reinforcement with the bulkhead baffles shift and retain with the combination there with addition of the car taking heads. Circumferential reinforcement with the tensile string with the shield, the material with the combination with the frame of the reinforcement with the produce with the structure and with the least equal to the prescribed 178.345.3 with the maximum unreinforced portion of the shield. The shell is designed to 60 inches. The car contains design with a loaded vacuum station over the circumference. Reinforcement may exceed 60 inches, provided the maximum unreinforced portion of the shell with conform with the requirements of the section 1A with the ASME code. Circumferential joints with the made with a conical shell with a section between conical cylindrical shell with a section angle between the adjacent sections left within 160 degrees. Circumferential reinforcement must be relocated 1 inch of the shell with one left to the otherwise reinforced with a structural member capable of maintaining shell stress levels authorized 178.345.3 with the joints that form large end of the adjacent conical section. The large end of the conical shell with the cylindrical cell section of the joint is measured into the shell. The joint is formed by the small end of the conical shell, cylindrical shell, and is measured outside of the shell, with except for the doubler plate with the knuckle pad with no reinforcement with the cover and circumferential joint. When baffle attachment ring will leave the circumferential reinforcement member that is muffled with the produced structural integrity leave the equal to prescribed 178.345.3. Must be circumferential wall with the cargo tank of the well with the nourishment doesn't leave the 50% of the total circumference with the cargo to length with the wall with the space over the joint not exceeding 40 times with the sling shell with the left of the reinforced external with the cargo tank. When a ring stiffener with the circumferential reinforcement with the internal external with the reinforcement must continuous around with the circumference with the cargo tank which must be in accordance with the following the section module of the neutral axis the ring section pair with the shell must be equal to at least equal to the right of the applicable formula and then it should be formulas. If the ring shifter is well with the cargo tank, show the portion of the shell to consider the part of the ring with the purpose of the computing the ring sponge with the portion of the shell must be provided at least 50% of the total circumference of the cargo tank of the well with the length of the unwide well the space of the joint if it not exceed 40 times the shell with the maximum portion of the shell in these calculations of as follows. When you meet the vacuum requirements section ring stiffeners must be described in section 8 of the ASME codes. If the configuration of the internal external ring stiffeners and cover the air with the space of the air is based in the range of the venting with the equivalent of the draining facility must be keep the operating at all times hat shape of the opening channel of the ring stiffeners and prevent visual inspection of the cargo tank shell with the prohibited with the cargo tank motor vehicle with the construction of carbon steel. Art 178.345.8 excellent damage protection. Generally, each of the cargo tank of the vehicle was designed with the construction with the requirements of the section and after up with the individual specification minimize the potential allow for the delaying due to the any dome sump for the washout with the cover plate with the projecting the cargo tank of the wall of the tank with landing at any of the tank orientation of the top of toughness of the cargo tank wall that's given at least equal to that specified appropriate cargo tank specification. Each of us provide ejection, learning 1/3 of the tank circumference of the cross-sectional parameter down circular cargo tank with excess either the amount of half of the diameter of the pulling of the attachment of the tower. More than 4 inches of the cargo tank with the well located with the upper 2/3 of the tanker circumference of the section of the parameter no cylindrical cargo tanks. Extend with more than 1/2 of the diameter, more than 2 inches of the point of attachment, but the tanker must have the external damage protection devices are specified in the section 125% of the stronger with any other required accident damage protection device attached to the cargo tank of the corner of the quantums of the paragraph A3. The section outlet valve of the closure pipe with any of the devices damaged, any of the accident could result in the loss of the landing about from the cargo tank must protect the accident damage protection device specified in the section. Accident damage protection device attached to the wall of the cargo tank must be able to withstand the deflector weight of the cargo tank with the load. So specified in the section they must be designed constructed and installed with the minimize the distribution load of the cargo tank of the wall. Minimize the possibility of adversely affecting the landing, presenting the integrity of the cargo tank of the accident, incidental show the resulting from the property accident or damage with protection design requirements in combination with the strength of the cargo tank after maximal allowable working pressure and average result of the cargo tank. Well strength greater than the ultimate strength of the material of the construction using the safety factor 1.3 information protection device that acceptable provided the device being protected that are not damaged from loads specified in section are applied. Alright, any piping over the extent of the end of the accident damage protection of the device that may be the equivalent of valve sacrificial device here with the section the sacrificial device may be located with the piping of the elbow with valve within the accident of the protection device that prevented the accidental loss of landing. The device must break down more than 70% of the load when it be required to close the failure with the use of landing and retention part of the tank with wall failure with the sacrificial device must be leave protected landing and retention device attached to the car tank of the wall intact with a retaining product. Minimum road clearance. The minimum road clearance for the aim of the car tank vehicle component the projection located with the aim of the two adjacent axles of the vehicle combination must be at least 1/2 inch of the each foot separating the component of the device for the nearest axle with the adjacent pair with no class lower no case less than 12 inches of the except for the minimum road clearance of the landing gear of the other attachments within the intended weight of an axle not less than 10 inches. These measurements must be calculated with the gross vehicle the weight rating a tank of the cargo tank of the vehicle with each outlet projection pipe with located with 1/3 of the cargo tank center for the confidence of the cross-sectional parameter of the non-circular cargo tank of the can be damaged with the accident with the result of the loss of the landing of unprotected debris with the box damage with the protection device except for the providing pick up the A1 of the section 173 each subject after outlet of the projection pipe they may be grouped with the cluster together protected by the single protection device. The bottom damage protection must be able to withstand the force of 1,555 pounds based on ultimate strength of the material from the front side of the rear uniformly distributed over each of the surfaces of the device over an area not exceeding 6 square feet with the width not exceeding 6 feet. Suspension component of the structural mounting of the members and may be used to provide all parts of the parts. Protection of the device must extend no less than 6 inches beyond any of the component that may contain the landing and the turn landing of the discharge. Opening is equipped with internal self-closing stop valve needs to conform with the paragraph E1. The section provided with the projected reasonably sure against the external loss of the landing protection must be provided with a sacrificial device located outboard internal self-closing stop valve within 4 inches of the range radius of the cargo tank shell within 4 inches of some, but no more clear for the 8 inches of the major radius of the tank shell. The device must break no more than 70% of the load when required to cover the failure to protect landing and retention. Device by part of the cargo tank wall of the failure of the sacrificial device must be leave the protected landing retention of the device for the part of the attachment of the cargo tank of the wall intact with compatible retaining product each inch for the closure opening including but not limited to the manhole fitting and inspection opening with each of the valve fitting with the pressure relief device, the valve recovery stop valve with the landing refitting located with the upper 2/3 of cargo tank of the circumference over the cross-sectional parameter of the non-circular with the tank of the projectile debris and located between the adjacent rolling damage protecting devices with 120% of the strength of that when provided the otherwise would damage the protection device roll over to damage protect the cargo tank and motor vehicle designed and installed with the width of the loads of the equal to divide the weight of the load cargo tank and motor vehicle is applied as follows. Normal to the cargo tank shell with perpendicular with the cargo tank shell with the tank shell and old perpendicular normal load from any of the direction stress load shall not exceed the ultimate strength with the material with the construction design loads may be considered uniformly with the distributed with the independently applied if then one over the rollover protection devices you with each of the device must be capable of carrying in proportion share of the required loads in each of the case of at least 1/4 of the total line tangential design must be proven the capability of the carrying with the required loads for the calculation test and combination of the test and calculations. Alright, rollover damage protection devices that would otherwise allow the accumulation with the top of the cargo tank provided with a direct liquid to the safe point of the discharge away from any of the structural component of the cargo tank motor vehicle. Her rear tank end protection. Each of the cargo tank vehicle must be provided with the rear intake with the protect with the cargo tank with the provide with the rear end collision, reduce the likelihood of the damage of the result in loss of the landing. Notwithstanding with the paragraph relieve manufacturer responsibility complying with the requirements of 393-86 of the sub applicable to the paragraph B with the section number right rear end the tank protection device must conform to the following requirements. The rear end cargo tank protection device must be designed so that the deflector is 6 inches of the horizontal forward with no contact leakage between any part of the cargo tank of the motor vehicle to containing the landing during transit any other part of the rear end protection device with a vertical plane passing through the outer load board surface protection by the dimension of the rear end of the cargo tank protection device shall conform to the following. Bottom surface of the rear end protection device must be at least 4 inches below the lower surface of any of the rear of the cargo tank of the motor vehicle which contain the landing of the during transit no more than 60 inches of the ground when the vehicle is empty. Maximum width of the net of the indentation separation between the section of the rear end of the cargo tank of the protection device not exceeding 24 inches. The notch separated of the rear end of the protection device may be used with the piping in the rear of the cargo tank of the equipped with the sacrificial device outboard or shut off outboard part of the motor vehicle. They have the rear not extended over the 18 inches beyond the outermost edge of the device and separated the device of the outer side walls of the vehicle. The structure of the rear end of the protection device and attachment of the vehicle must be designed safely to satisfy the design specifications in paragraph D1 of the section and subject with the impact with the cargo tank motor vehicle to the rate of the payload. Deceleration of 2G shows the impact will consider being uniformly applied with a horizontal plane angle of 10 degrees to the left of the longitudinal axis of the vehicle. Alright, longitudinal deceleration protection. In order to account for the strength of the longitudinal impact with the accident of the cargo tank shovel, the head of it must be able to withstand the load with the result of the design pressure with a combination of dynamic pressure resulting in longitudinal deceleration of 2G for loading on the condition allowable. The stress allowable to maintain the ultimate strength with the material with the construction even safety factor 1.3 performance testing the analytical method the combination may be used to prove the capability provided with the method of the accurate with the variable able the cargo tanks with their internal baffles. Decelerated force may be reduced to 0.25 G with the baffle assembled and keep the total rejection of a decelerated force of 1 G. 178, 345.9 pumping and piping housing. Suitable means that must be provided during the loading and unloading operation. Ensure the pressure within the cargo design see the test pressure each hove of the piping top valve landing. Retention dealing the closure must be designed with the bursting pressure for the greater than 100 psi gauge 4 times the maximum allowable working pressure. Each hove then coupled with the design with the bursting pressure greater than 120 psi gauge 4.8 times the maximum allowable working pressure. Cargo tank must design so that there will be no leakage when connected. Suitable for provisions must be made with the allowable to prevent damage of the expansion of the contraction, drawing of the vibration, splitting, joint of the may be even imperative for the landing of the retention system. Any heat and vibe for the install that must be circumstruct with the braking and the external connection that will not cover the leak of the cargo tank landing, engage landing of the road charging when including associated valve must provide with the adequate means self-closure to prevent leak of the attachment of the construction and loading and unloading charge. There must be sufficient strength with the protector of the sacrificial device and such any loading applied with the loading and unloading charging line with the negative of the cargo tank cannot cover the damage of the resulting loss of landing from the cargo tank using non-metallic pipe. Valve connection not as strong with the heat resistant of the cargo tank material as authorized only if and such is located outboard of the landing of the retention system. 178, 345.10 pressure relief. Each cargo tank must be with the relief valve, relief pressure vacuum condition conforms with the section applicable to individual specification pressure vacuum and relief the operating system with design the operator that have sufficient capacity to prevent cargo tank or rupture collapse due to the overpressurization vacuum resulting in loading and unloading from the heating of the cooling of the landing pressure for the release system not required to conform to the ASME code. Type of the construction relief. The system of the device. Each cargo tank must be provided with the primary pressure for the release system consisting of the one with more reclosing pressure relief valves. The secondary pressure relief system of the consisting of another pressure relief valve with the pair will the primary pressure of the relief system may be augmented the total venting capacity of the cargo tank down reclosing the pressure relief device when not authorized any of the cargo tank except within the series which for the reclosing pressure relief device gravity actuated reclosing valves are not authorized in any of the cargo tank when provided with the statute 173 33C1 and 3. The subject cargo tanks may be equipped with the normal vents. If the vents must be set open, not to lift the 1 psi gauge, designed to prevent loft landing over the device to the cave of the vehicle overturns. If the pressure relief system is designed with the dynamic pressure surge, except the design set the pressure specified in paragraphs B3, 1, and 2 with the section set the pressure is function maximum allowable working pressure and set forth in paragraph D with the section each pressure relief device is able to withstand dynamic pressure surge reaching 300 psi gauge above the design, and the set pressure with the sustainment above the set pressure of 60 milliseconds total volume and liquid release. Not seeing 1 gallon before the relief device recloses with the leak type of condition. The requirement must meet the regard of the vehicle orientation for the capability to demonstrate the testing and acceptable method of outline the TTMA RP 909 number 81 through 97. The performing of a spring-loaded pressure relief device valve, the MC 306, 307, 312, 406, 407, and 412 tanks. After August 31st, 1995, each of the pressure relief device must be able to withstand the dynamic pressure of the reaching with 300 psi gauge of the design. Set pressure for the sustain above the design. Set pressure for the relief is 60 millisecond. If its total volume of liquid relief does not exceed 1 milliliter before the relief of the valve, the reclosure light condition. This requirement must meet regardless vehicle operation. The capability must demonstrate the testing of the TTM RP 980. One side is paragraph B31 section is actually acceptable test procedure. Each reclosing pressure valve is constructed and installed with the instruction of the manager to prevent unauthorized adjustment of the release valve setting. No shell valve of the other device to prevent delaying through the pressure relief system, which may be installed with the pressure relief valve. Pressure relief valve must be mounted shielded and drainable to the minimum of the accumulation material that could impair the operating and discharge capability of the system, freezing, corrosion, and blocking. Location relief device. Each of the pressure relief device must communicate with a vapor spray with the above the landing maneuver. The practical with the vapor spray. For example, the car tank designed by the operator with the level of attitude of the device should be positioned horizontal and transverse center of the car tank. The car tank slot within the rear of the device should be located within forward half of the car tank of the discharge. The frame of the device must be unrestricted. Protect devices with the effect with the flow of the vapor permissible provided. Required set with the capacity to maintain with the setting of the pressure relief valve, sufficient pressure of the relief valve with the system is pressure at which of the start of the opening allowing discharge. Primary pressure relief system and the pressure of each of the primary valve must be not less than 120% of the maximum allowable pressure, no more than 132% of the maximum allowable pressure. Valve must reclose not less than 108% of the maximum allowable pressure. Remain closed at the lower pressure. Alright, secondary pressure relief system. The secondary pressure relief system of the secondary relief device must not be less than 100% or 20% of the maximum allowable pressure. Venting capacity of the pressure relief the pressure relief system, the primary and secondary, including pipe that may have sufficient venting capacity limited to cargo tank of internal pressure not more than cargo tank of the pressure. Total venting capacity rated not more than the cargo tank pressure must be at least the specified table 1 except for the prior item 178, 348, 4. Then show the table. Primary pressure relief system unless otherwise specified. Application individual specification of the primary relief system must have the minimum venting capacity of 300 per square, 300 square feet. Expose the cargo tank area within capable at least one for the required total venting of the capacity of the cargo tank. Secondary pressure relief system. The primary pressure relief system does not provide the required total venting with additional capacity must be but a secondary pressure relief system. Certification of the pressure relief device of the manufacturer by the pressure relief device, including the valve of the frameable the rupture diff of the vacuum vent of the combination device, must certify the device module that was designed and tested in accordance with the section. Appropriate cargo tank with the specification of the certificate must contain the information that described the device performance certification must be assigned by the responsible official of the manufacturer who would approve of the flow of the capacity certification rate of flow of the capacity certification and testing. The pressure relief device provided with a sufficiently flow capacity of the certification testing prior to the first use. The device has one design cert, and pressure is considered to be one of the best testing performance or as well. At least on 3 devices, each of the specific must be tested low capacity of pressure and greater than the test pressure of the car tank of the device module. With the certified by the capacity of the device tested must fall within the range of plus 5%. Reverse the device tested. Rated flow capacity of the device model is not more greater than 90. Presenting the average value of the device tested. The rated flow of the capacity derived with each model must be certified the responsible official of the device manufacturer marking pressure relief device. Each pressure relief device must be permanently marked with the following manufacturer's name, model number, set pressure, PSI gauge, rate of flow of capacity, SCFH, rating capacity, and PSI gauge. 178, 345, 11, tank outlets.